Alarms clawed at the glass walls as dashboards bled red and headlines stacked like knives. Olivia Kane said, "Tell me what hit us." "Marcus Hale," said a leak, "but we can contain it." The numbers plunged and the room shrank. Claire Monroe said, "Legal is on, but the story is already viral." A rival statement detonated across the main screen, and silence felt heavier than sound. Olivia Kane said, "Draft the truth before the lie hardens." Marcus Hale said, "We need a scapegoat, or we lose the board by noon." A dozen phones vibrated, and the floor seemed to tilt. Claire Monroe said, "Your 9 a.m. with investors just turned hostile." Olivia Kane said, "Good, let them come." The elevator chimed like a countdown, and camera flashes strobed from the lobby. Marcus Hale said, "We cut losses or we bleed out." Olivia felt the air thin and forced it back into her lungs. She said, "We hold the line, then we push." The war room hardened into ritual as crisis binders landed like verdicts. Olivia Kane said, "Facts first, then tone." Claire Monroe said, "Legal warns, the leak is partial and skewed." Marcus Hale said, "Which means the rest will surface." The board chat pinged and faces appeared, cold and lit from below. Olivia Kane said, "We acknowledge breach, deny intent, promise an audit, and set a clock." Claire Monroe said, "Comms drafted a statement that signals contrition and control." Marcus Hale said, "Control is a strong word to promise." Noah Reed said, "Traffic is spiking from the Rivals app." Olivia Kane said, "Good, ride their wave with our truth." The room steadied as she paced the perimeter. Claire Monroe said, "Investors want a head on a plate." Olivia Kane said, "They will get answers, not theater." The countdown on the wall began to burn. The investor call opened like a tribunal, and the grid of faces watched for weakness. Olivia Kane said, "We are investigating, and we have initiated a third-party review." Gideon Price's statement scrolled again in the chat like a taunt. Marcus Hale said liquidity remains solid within guidance. A voice cut in and asked if ethics had been optional. Olivia Kane said, "Ethics are the strategy, not the press release." Claire Monroe typed furiously as questions multiplied and a clock blinked red. Olivia Kane said, "Our audit partner will publish milestones within 72 hours. Another voice said, "Names or noise." Marcus Hale said, "We will act on findings, not rumors." The call ended with a sterile chime that felt like a verdict deferred. The lobby swelled with cameras, and a headline nailed itself to the building. Gideon Price said, "Transparency is leadership," in a clip looping on every screen. Olivia Kane said, "Let them chant, we will move." Samantha Cole said, "Press is blocking the garage." Marcus Hale said, "We pivot to the east exit and keep heads down." Claire Monroe said, "Statement is live, tone measured, no confession." Olivia Kane said, "Then anchor it with action." A flash popped, and for a second everything turned white. A protester shouted about justice and the word echoed up the atrium. Olivia Kane said, "Security walk and breathe." The doors opened like a challenge, and the city roared back. Silence finally found the corner office, and it did not feel like mercy. Olivia Kane said, "What happens if the leak is internal?" Marcus Hale said, "Then we stage a purge and report valor." Claire Monroe said, "Or we clean without spectacle and earn trust back." A text arrived from an unknown number promising help and naming a price. Olivia Kane said, "Who sells salvation at retail?" The city hummed like a server rack beyond the glass. Marcus Hale said, "The board needs a symbol, not a sermon." Claire Monroe said, "Symbols burn fast and stain longer." Olivia Kane said, "Find me the first thread to pull." The phone vibrated again, and the name Evelyn Drake floated on the screen like a trap. The board convened under storm clouds, their faces dim in the glow of muted screens. Olivia Kane said, "We move fast, we strike harder." Marcus Hale said, "Half the directors are leaning toward Gideon Price." Claire Monroe said, he is feeding them fear packaged as certainty. Noah Reid said the rival app has doubled user signups overnight. Olivia Kane said, momentum is theater, we play for legacy. A director demanded blood, and the silence that followed was volcanic. Marcus Hale said, if we sacrifice one, they will demand more. Claire Monroe said, truth is armor if wielded properly. Olivia Kane said, truth without force is surrender. The lightning outside cracked through the windows and made them all shadows. Every glance carried weight, as if the Empire's bones creaked beneath their feet. The leak deepened overnight, and fragments of private memos burned across social feeds. Olivia Kane said, they are gutting us from the inside. Claire Monroe said, it is someone with clearance. The metadata shows proximity. Marcus Hale said, that narrows it to less than 20. Olivia Kane said, then trust is no longer free. Noah Reid said, servers show irregular access logs from midnight. Olivia Kane said, purge accounts, tighten access, cut their oxygen. Claire Monroe said, we cannot risk backlash if innocent staff are caught in the sweep. Marcus Hale said, backlash is lighter than collapse. Olivia Kane said, every empire falls by betrayal, not bullets. The office hummed with static like a warning alive in the walls. Morning broke with headlines sharper than knives, and the lobby filled with restless staff. Olivia Kane said, we stand or we scatter. Samantha Cole said, employees are whispering about resignations. Claire Monroe said, the rival is openly courting talent on socials. Marcus Hale said, offer retention bonuses before they move. Olivia Kane said, money buys time, not loyalty. A young voice from the crowd asked if she could still be trusted. Olivia Kane said, I am still here, facing you, not hiding. Silence rolled like thunder before a ripple of nods. Samantha Cole said, but if more leaks hit, trust will fracture beyond repair. Olivia Kane said, then we build walls higher and keep walking. In a secluded office, the walls echoed with betrayal as the rival's new campaign blasted from every device. Olivia Kane said, he is weaponizing our silence. Marcus Hale said, silence is restraint, not weakness. Claire Monroe said, but silence is louder than his lies. Olivia Kane said, then we pierce it with proof. Marcus Hale said, proof risks exposing our cracks. Olivia Kane said, better to bleed openly than rot unseen. A sudden alert popped, naming a suspected insider. Claire Monroe said, this is either our salvation or another trap. Olivia Kane said, then we walk into it with eyes wide. Outside, sirens cut the night like knives. The board demanded names before dawn, and the air carried the scent of collapse. Olivia Kane said, I will not sacrifice shadows to satisfy hunger. Marcus Hale said, they want assurance, not justice. Claire Monroe said, justice must be timed or it becomes theater. Noah Reid said, we traced unusual logins to a single device. Olivia Kane said, then bring me the owner and seal the breach. Marcus Hale said, if this is misdirection, we are finished. Olivia Kane said, if we do nothing, we are already finished. The silence felt heavier than thunder as the city lit behind the glass towers. The storm outside mirrored the storm within as executives whispered like traders in a pit. Olivia Kane said, someone here is feeding him. Marcus Hale said, you cannot accuse without evidence. Claire Monroe said, but silence is complicity, Olivia. Noah Reid said the logs narrow to 3 names, and one belongs to the inner circle. Olivia Kane said, then one of us is the rot. Marcus Hale said, if you fracture trust now, the rival wins without lifting a finger. Olivia Kane said, if I ignore it, he wins anyway. Claire Monroe said, the longer we hesitate, the deeper the knife. Noah Reid said, what if the insider is someone we would never suspect? Olivia Kane said, then betrayal wears a familiar face, and that is the cruelest mask of all. The rival's face beamed from a news feed, his smile wide as he claimed moral high ground. Gideon Price said, "Leadership is transparency." Olivia Kane slammed the remote and said, "He parades lies as truth." Marcus Hale said, "The board is watching him more than us now." Claire Monroe said, "He is playing savior while we bleed." Olivia Kane said, "Then I will show them what survival looks like." Samantha Cole said, "Security intercepted chatter about corporate espionage on the floor." Olivia Kane said, "Then root it out before it spreads." Claire Monroe said, "If staff believe him, we will collapse from inside." Olivia Kane said, "Then faith becomes war, and I will not lose it." In the dim archives, files whispered secrets under flickering bulbs. Olivia Kane said, "Paper cannot be hacked, only stolen." Noah Reid said, "These records prove funding gaps they cannot spin." Claire Monroe said, "If we reveal them, we risk exposing our own cracks." Olivia Kane said, "Better scars than open wounds." Marcus Hale said, "You gamble the empire on documents nobody trusts until blood is spilled." Olivia Kane said, "Truth demands light, even if it blinds." Noah Reid said, "Then let's copy, secure, and leak it ourselves with intent." Claire Monroe said, "Controlled exposure may save us." Olivia Kane said, "Then sharpen the blade and aim it clean." The boardroom became a courtroom, with every eye a gavel. Olivia Kane said, "We face betrayal, and it may stand among us." A director whispered suspicion at Claire Monroe. Claire Monroe said, "I have given more than trust, I have given my career." Marcus Hale said, "The rival stirs poison, and you are drinking it." Olivia Kane said, "This circle is broken until we restore it with truth." Noah Reid slid evidence forward and said, "Access logs don't lie." Claire Monroe's face flushed as she whispered, "I am not your enemy." Olivia Kane said, "Then prove it with action, not words." Silence crashed harder than thunder. The night ended with Olivia alone, skyline blazing with lightning, her reflection fractured on glass. Olivia Kane said, "I am surrounded by wolves." Marcus Hale's voice lingered in her memory, "One wrong strike and the rival feasts." Claire Monroe's denial echoed like a wound. Olivia Kane whispered, "I will not fall prey to shadows." A text lit her phone. Evelyn Drake said, "I know who the betrayer is." Olivia's hand trembled, not with fear but fury. She said, "Then the hunt begins tonight." The thunder rolled, and the city seemed to hold its breath. The revelation struck like a blade when Evelyn Drake's dossier spread across the table. Olivia Kane said, "The betrayer has been among us." Marcus Hale said, "You must be certain before we ignite a war." Claire Monroe said, "This file names me, but it is forged." Noah Reid said, "Metadata confirms authenticity, Claire. Olivia Kane said, "Loyalty once questioned cannot be restored." Claire Monroe said, "I have given everything, yet suspicion is my reward." Marcus Hale said, "The board will crucify whoever wears this stain." Olivia Kane said, "Then I will face them with proof, not whispers." The storm outside roared as if mocking the fracture inside. The board assembled, whispers sharp as daggers, eyes turning toward Claire. Olivia Kane said, "This evidence cannot be ignored." Claire Monroe said, "I have not betrayed this company." Marcus Hale said, "Proof stands taller than words." A director said, "Trust has already crumbled, Claire." Olivia Kane said, "The empire bleeds because of secrets, not loyalty." Claire Monroe said, "Evelyn Drake is manipulating us, and you let her." Noah Reid said, "The logs don't lie." Olivia Kane said, "I cannot gamble on denial while the walls burn." Claire Monroe said, "You trade loyalty for paranoia, and it will destroy you." Silence spread like fire consuming oxygen. Claire stormed into the hallway, her heels echoing louder than thunder. Claire Monroe said, "You do not see the trap closing." Olivia Kane followed and said, "Betrayal wears denial well." Claire Monroe said, "If I fall, it will be by your hand, not his." Marcus Hale caught up and said, "This fracture will break us all." Claire Monroe said, "He wanted this, turning us against each other." Olivia Kane said, "If you are innocent, prove it with action." Claire Monroe said, "I have nothing left to give." The elevator doors closed between them, like a verdict carved in steel. Olivia whispered, "Every empire dies by those within." The rivals' campaign escalated as Gideon Price declared victory on live television. Gideon Price said, "Their house is collapsing, mine stands tall." Olivia Kane slammed her fist and said, "He feeds on chaos." Marcus Hale said, "Our shareholders are listening to him now." Claire Monroe, watching from a corner, whispered, "And you are giving him fuel." Olivia Kane said, "Then we answer with fire." Noah Reid said, "Our counter-release could shatter him, but it will scorch us too." Olivia Kane said, "Then let us burn, but not in silence." Marcus Hale said, "The line between war and suicide blurs fast." Olivia Kane said, "Let them choke on the smoke we create." That night, the rooftop became Olivia's sanctuary as the city stretched restless below. Olivia Kane whispered, "I will not surrender, not yet." Marcus Hale approached and said, "You will break before you bend." Olivia Kane said, "Then, let me break on my own terms." Claire Monroe appeared from the shadows and said, "If you believe I am guilty, cut me loose now." Olivia Kane said, "I am not here to punish, only to survive." Claire Monroe said, "Then trust me, or you will die with doubt." Marcus Hale said, "Every choice now sharpens the knife." Olivia Kane stared into the storm and said, "Then I will hold the blade myself." Lightning cracked and silence swallowed the rooftop. The empire staggered as headlines declared a shareholder revolt, and the trading floor pulsed with panic. Olivia Kane said, "They want me gone before the bell closes." Marcus Hale said, "Votes are stacking against you." Claire Monroe said, "This is Gideon's orchestration pulling strings we cannot see." Noah Reid said, "Our servers are under coordinated attack. Systems slowing." Olivia Kane said, "He is choking us from inside and outside." Marcus Hale said, "If we fail to counterstrike, tomorrow is not ours." Olivia Kane said, "Then we fight with everything left." The lights flickered as if the building itself shivered under siege, and silence cracked into chaos with every phone call unanswered. The board chamber filled with thunderous whispers as investors pressed for immediate resignation. Olivia Kane said, "I will not step down in chaos." Marcus Hale said, "Every moment you resist costs us millions." Claire Monroe said, "Yield now, and he will consume us whole." Olivia Kane said, "I will not yield to vultures." A director said, "The shareholders want a sacrifice." Olivia Kane said, "They will have blood, but not mine." Marcus Hale said, "You risk tearing the company apart to save pride." Olivia Kane said, "This is not pride, it is survival." Claire Monroe whispered, "Survival without allies is suicide." Olivia Kane said, "Then let them sharpen their knives, I am still standing." The servers crashed mid-afternoon, black screens swallowing hope as Noah Reid slammed the keyboard. Noah Reid said, "We are being gutted digitally." Olivia Kane said, "Bring them back online now." Marcus Hale said, "Every lost minute costs us credibility." Claire Monroe said, "This breach is deliberate." An inside hand guided them. Olivia Kane said, "The betrayer still bleeds us from within." Noah Reid said, "I can trace the signal if I bypass security protocols." Marcus Hale said, "That could expose us further." Olivia Kane said, "Do it, we bleed now or we die tomorrow." Alarms echoed through the server room like a countdown. The evening news carried images of protesters chanting outside the glass tower, calling for Olivia's head. Olivia Kane said, "The city wants a spectacle." Samantha Cole said, "Security can't hold the lines forever." Marcus Hale said, "Public trust has collapsed." Claire Monroe said, "If we step outside, we may never return." Olivia Kane said, "Then we face them, not hide." Samantha Cole said, that could spark violence. Olivia Kane said, better to stand and burn than vanish in silence. Marcus Hale said, your defiance feeds their anger. Olivia Kane said, their anger proves I still matter. The chants outside rose like waves pounding steel. Night fell heavy as Olivia returned to her office, the skyline bleeding neon red. A message blinked from Evelyn Drake. The final move is yours. Olivia Kane said, she plays both sides like a puppeteer. Marcus Hale said her silence until now was calculated. Claire Monroe said, if she names the betrayer, it will not be mercy. Olivia Kane said, it will be leverage. Noah Reed said, do we trust her at all? Olivia Kane said, trust is dead. We deal with power, not faith. Marcus Hale said, the board will expect an answer by dawn. Olivia Kane whispered, then tomorrow becomes war, and tonight becomes choice. The final boardroom showdown erupted under sterile lights as silence pressed like a vice. Olivia Kane said, this company does not belong to vultures. Gideon Price smirked on screen and said, then it dies with you. Marcus Hale whispered, the vote is already swayed. Claire Monroe said, if I was guilty, I wouldn't stand here. Olivia Kane said, loyalty is not a defense, it is a choice. Noah Reed said, the digital trail points directly to Gideon's team. Olivia Kane said, then let us bleed him with his own weapon. Gideon Price said, the board prefers certainty, not chaos. Olivia Kane leaned forward and said, then watch me redefine certainty. The vote began, every hand raised like a dagger, every face carved in shadow. Olivia Kane said, you think numbers can bury me? Marcus Hale muttered, the tide is shifting, Olivia. Claire Monroe said, if we reveal Evelyn Drake's dossier now, it flips the game. Olivia Kane said, then unleash it. Noah Reed pressed enter and files cascaded across the screens, detailing Gideon's manipulation. Olivia Kane said, this is the rot you've worshipped. Gideon Price snarled, lies dressed in light. Olivia Kane said, no, this is your empire exposed. The board murmured like a storm breaking. The rival's fury spilled as he demanded silence, but Olivia's voice cut sharper. Olivia Kane said, you puppeteer collapse, but you will choke on exposure. Gideon Price said, you cannot erase the revolt. Claire Monroe said, the revolt was scripted by him. Marcus Hale said, the board must now decide who carries the crown. Olivia Kane said, crown or no crown, I am not finished. Noah Reed said, servers are stabilizing. Investors are regaining faith. Olivia Kane said, let them watch a resurrection in real time. The chamber pulsed with renewed energy, a fragile empire breathing again. The storm outside mirrored chaos inside as the deciding director rose. He said, trust cannot be rebuilt with shadows, but light still burns. Olivia Kane said, then burn with me. Gideon Price's image fractured as the feed was cut. Marcus Hale said, the vote stands tied. Claire Monroe said, then the chair decides. Silence pierced every ear until the chair whispered, she stays. Olivia Kane exhaled like a blade withdrawn. Gideon Price's absence filled the room with strange relief. Noah Reed said, the system holds. For now. Olivia Kane said, for now is enough to rebuild. The night ended in the war room, silence broken only by the hum of servers. Olivia Kane said, we survived, but the cost lingers. Marcus Hale said, you won, but enemies wait for cracks. Claire Monroe said, trust was bruised but not destroyed. Noah Reed said, investors believe again, but shadows remain. Olivia Kane said, the empire breathes, but it is scarred. Marcus Hale said, scar tissue makes walls stronger or weaker. Olivia Kane said, then I will wear scars like armor. Claire Monroe said, but remember, armor weighs heavy. Olivia Kane said, better heavy than hollow. The city lights flickered like ashes in her eyes. The dawn cracked through storm clouds, painting the skyline in fractured gold. Olivia Kane said, "The Empire lives, but so do the scars." Marcus Hale said, "You held your ground, but ground shifts quickly." Claire Monroe said, "Faith is fragile, but it still beats." Noah Reed said, "Systems are stable, yet whispers remain." Olivia Kane said, "The price of survival is never free." She touched the glass as if steadying herself against the weight of a city that judged and feared her in equal measure. The board reconvened with hollow smiles, their voices hushed with unease. Olivia Kane said, "You demanded survival, now carry its burden with me." A director said, "Your power is cracked, but intact." Marcus Hale whispered, "They will obey until they smell blood again." Claire Monroe said, "Then we keep them starving." Olivia Kane said, "Starvation breeds desperation, not loyalty." Silence spread like a scar no vote could heal, and all knew the shadow of Gideon lingered. The streets outside roared with mixed chants, some praising resilience, others calling for her fall. Samantha Cole said, "The people want clarity, not silence." Olivia Kane said, "They will not find it in spectacle." Claire Monroe said, "They need more than survival, they need vision." Olivia Kane said, "Then I will craft vision from fire and ruin." Marcus Hale muttered, "But fire consumes what it builds." Olivia Kane said, "Better ash in my name than a crown on his." The crowd's voices pulsed like a living wound against the tower walls. That night, Evelyn Drake's final message arrived, a single line: "Power is never owned, only borrowed." Olivia Kane said, "Then I will borrow until death itself calls it back." Marcus Hale said, "Every loan comes with interest." Claire Monroe said, "We stand together, or we collapse together." Olivia Kane said, "Then collapse will not come tonight." She burned the message and whispered, "Let shadows fear my fire." The smoke curled upward, as though carrying a warning to the unseen. The rooftop became her throne and exile, wind tearing at her coat as the city pulsed below. Olivia Kane whispered, "Victory leaves a hollow crown." Marcus Hale said, "You survived, but survival is not peace." Claire Monroe said, "The board fears you, but fear is fragile." Olivia Kane said, "Let them fear until they learn respect." Noah Reed said, "The systems will hold, but only as long as you do." Olivia Kane turned to the storm and said, "Then let the storm remember my name." Lightning split the horizon, sealing her legacy in fire and silence.